begins when the will wakes from unconsciousness. Suddenly it's an individual, surrounded by others, all chasing something, all hurting, all lost. And before it fully understands what's happening, it starts drifting back toward the unconsciousness it once left behind.
Awakened to life out of the night of unconsciousness, the will finds itself as an individual in an endless and boundless world, among innumerable individuals, all striving, suffering, and erring. And, as if through a troubled dream, it hurries back to the old unconsciousness. Arthur Schopenhauer, intro plus hook, is life worth living? It's a question many of us quietly struggle. Why that night, alone, or in moments when the noise of daily life fades into silence? We search for meaning. We pursue happiness. We build careers, families, reputations, little towers of purpose that we hope will justify our being here. But what if one of the greatest philosophical minds in history said no? What if he argued that not only is life not worth living, but that existence itself is built upon vanity, restlessness, and a futile yearning that can never be satisfied? Welcome to the Will to Wisdom. Today, we explore one of the most provocative, unflinching worldviews ever laid out by a philosopher: the vision of Arthur Schopenhauer. Known as the father of philosophical pessimism, Schopenhauer didn't flinch from the darker truths of existence. He didn't sugarcoat life, and he didn't chase illusions of eternal happiness. Instead, he dissected reality with razor-sharp clarity, and what he found was not a celebration of life, but a diagnosis of suffering. In this video, we'll explore the core of Schopenhauer's thought, the vanity of existence. We'll explore his metaphysical foundation, his vision of the will, and why he believed life is not a gift to be cherished, but a task to be endured. You'll hear real-world examples, bold philosophical insights, and practical implications for modern life. So buckle in. This isn't about feel-good answers. This is about facing the truth cold, raw, and perhaps redemptive in its honesty. Schopenhauer's framework: the world as will and representation. To understand Schopenhauer's conclusion about life's worth, we must begin with his metaphysical foundation. He divides the world into two aspects: the world as representation and the world as will. The world as representation is the one we see, objects in space and time, bound by causality. It's the world of phenomena: your desk, your body, the sky above, the events unfolding around you. In this view, we are subjects experiencing a world of objects. But Schopenhauer argues that this world is an appearance, not the thing in itself. Behind it all lies the will. The will is not willpower, nor choice. It's a blind, irrational, ceaseless striving. It has no reason, no plan, no direction. It is simply the force that drives all things, from the pull of gravity to the growing of trees, from the instinct of animals to the deepest desires of humans. Your body is not just a physical object, it is the manifestation of will. Every hunger, lust, fear, and hope is not a product of reason, but of this underlying, unstoppable will. It moves through you, acts through you, and defines your existence. This will is not individual. The separateness we experience is just appearance. At the root, everything is the same will, manifesting in different forms. And that, Schopenhauer argues, is why life is not the story of personal fulfillment, but of endless, unconscious striving. Why existence equals suffering. What does it mean to be the embodiment of this blind will? It means we suffer constantly because will is wanting. Will is need. Will is lack. We only desire things we do not yet possess. We are driven by hunger, literal and metaphorical. And satisfying that hunger does not bring lasting happiness. It only stops the pain for a moment. As soon as one desire is fulfilled, another appears. Or worse, we fall into boredom, the vacuum left by vanquished wants. Schopenhauer says we are like Ixion, tied to a spinning wheel of desire, or like the Danaids, condemned to fill a bottomless vessel, or Tantalus, always reaching for satisfaction that retreats just beyond our grasp. This is the vanity of existence, the cycle of pain, momentary relief, boredom and repeat. Life does not offer true joy. At best, it offers brief pauses in pain, and even those pauses are fleeting. Time itself betrays us. The present, the only real moment, is always vanishing. What we work for becomes memory or regret. All our efforts slip through our fingers. We live in a state of perpetual becoming, never being. If pleasure were positive and pain negative, life might be worth the trouble. But Schopenhauer insists that pleasure is merely the absence of pain. It has no substance of its own. Pain is real. Pleasure is shadow. Life, then, is not a gift. It is a burden. Not something to be celebrated, but something to be survived. The illusion of the individual and the tyranny of ego. Why don't we see this more clearly? Because we believe we are individuals, separate selves, with personal stories, goals, and desires. But this, says Schopenhauer, is an illusion. The principium individuation, the principle of individuation, makes us experience ourselves as separate, but at the core, we are all expressions of the same will. The illusion of individuality breeds egoism. We think our needs, our pleasures, our dreams are paramount, and so we compete, fight, and suffer, believing ourselves to be the center of existence. This egoism turns the world into a battlefield. Billions of little egos, each convinced of its importance, clashing over resources, attention, and love. Every war, betrayal, and exploitation flows from this delusion. We chase happiness in a system designed for suffering. Optimists say life is good. Schopenhauer challenges them. Go to a hospital, a prison, a battlefield. Look at the orphan, the widow, the dying. Then ask, again, is this the best of all possible worlds? He suggests the real fear is not death, but life. Life is the task. Death is the release. The will to life and the deception of love. At the heart of our ceaseless striving is the will to life, the force that compels not only survival, but reproduction. Nowhere is this more powerfully expressed than in sexual desire. Schopenhauer doesn't romanticize love. In fact, he calls sexual organs the true focal point of the will. Romantic love? Just a trick nature plays. A strategy the will uses to ensure its own continuation through us. We believe we've found the one, that our passion is profound and personal. But Schopenhauer argues this is all an illusion. It's not you who desires, it's the will of the species, orchestrating genetic pairings for future offspring. You think it's love. Nature thinks it's math. And once the will achieves its goal, pregnancy, or even the possibility of it, lost, the illusion dissolves. The passion evaporates. Often, what's left is confusion, regret, or even revulsion. This is why, he claims, marriages based solely on passion often end in despair. The attraction was never about companionship, it was about future generations. The will doesn't care about your happiness. It wants only survival. And that survival comes at a cost. You suffer, then die, and pass the task on to the next generation who will do the same. The cycle continues. Blindly. Real-world reflections of the will. Schopenhauer wasn't just theorizing in a vacuum. He saw evidence for his ideas everywhere. As a teenager, he visited the Toulon penal colony in France. He saw men shackled, starving, forced to labor until death. He described their fate as worse than execution. To him, the prison wasn't just a place, it was a metaphor for life. Existence itself, he believed, is a kind of penal colony, a place of constant struggle, futile effort, and suffering without end. He also pointed to nature. The drone bees, whose only purpose is to mate and die. The insects that perform precise biological rituals without thought. The animals driven to suicide by sexual frenzy. In humans, the will to life expresses itself in both grand tragedy and small humiliations. Romantic suicides, unwanted pregnancies, the shame we feel around sex. These aren't cultural accidents. They are metaphysical indicators of a deeper truth. The will is using us. We are not its masters, we are its instruments. And when we begin to see that clearly, something in us shifts. Is there a way out? Schopenhauer's quiet solutions. Is there any hope? Schopenhauer does not offer easy comfort, but he does offer 3 possible escapes, none of which promise conventional happiness, but each offering a kind of relief. First, aesthetic contemplation. When we become absorbed in art, music, or nature, truly absorbed, without desire, we enter a state of will-less awareness. For a brief moment, we are no longer striving. We are simply perceiving. Time stops. The ego disappears. This, Schopenhauer says, is a temporary tranquilizer, a Sabbath from willing. Second, compassion. When we see that others suffer as we do, and realize we are all expressions of the same will, we feel empathy. Not from duty, but from recognition. Compassion is a form of awakening. It breaks the illusion of separateness. Third, the denial of the will to life. This is the hardest and most radical path. It's not suicide. Suicide is a desperate act of someone still caught in the will. The true escape is the voluntary letting go of all desire, the stilling of the inner storm. Ascetics, saints, and mystics across cultures have walked this path through meditation, self-denial, and detachment. Not to gain something, but to surrender everything, to stop the wheel from spinning. This, for Schopenhauer, is the closest thing to salvation. It's rare, it's difficult, but it's real. So, is life worth living? We return to the question, is life worth living? From Schopenhauer's view, the answer is no, at least, not in the way we typically hope. Life is suffering. Desire is deception. Happiness is fleeting or false. The will is blind, and we are its slaves. But maybe, in seeing this clearly, we reclaim a sliver of freedom, because what we see clearly, we can no longer be fooled by. In that clarity, we gain something he considered even more valuable than joy: wisdom. A few key takeaways from Schopenhauer's vision. Happiness is not a goal, but a momentary absence of pain. Don't chase endless pleasure. Pursue balance and peace instead. Know your nature. Understand the will within you. Don't be blindly driven by it. Awareness is the beginning of liberation. Accept limitations. Life is filled with suffering, and trying to escape it entirely only deepens it. Learn to endure with grace. Find refuge in beauty and compassion. In moments of pure perception or empathetic connection, the will recedes. Even briefly, that's something. Ask deeper questions. If the world is vain, then your mission isn't to win the game, it's to understand it. Conclusion. Schopenhauer doesn't offer us sunshine, but he offers us something far more useful: clarity. He strips away illusions so we can see the world as it is, not to despair, but to become more conscious of how we live in it. Is that life worth living? Maybe not by the old standards, but maybe, just maybe, through the lens of truth, it becomes a different kind of life, quieter, deeper, and wiser. Call to action. If this journey through Schopenhauer's philosophy spoke to you, let me know in the comments. What do you think? Is life worth living, even with all its suffering? If you found value in this exploration, give this video a like and share it with someone who's wrestling with these deep questions. And of course, subscribe to The Will to Wisdom for more profound philosophical journeys into the nature of life, mind, and meaning. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning,